I've played World of Warcraft for 18 years, but this new expansion will be the first one I don't partake in, so I was feeling a need for something new, and with the Bald King promoting Path of Exile 2, I figured I'd give it a try. Now, I'm not that big of a dungeon crawler, but I downloaded PoE2 with an open mind and the expectation of a few hours of fun in a new game. Yeah, that didn't happen. I would spend almost 18 of the next 30 hours smashing my monk through the story. I know it might sound like I'm saying Path of Exile was love at first sight, but there's some serious differences between PoE2 and World of Warcraft, and not all of them are positive. The initial impression, the character selection process, doesn't exactly explain how each class is unique. Unlike WoW, there's no stacking of race and class and expansive menus telling you how they work together. There's no racial cooperation to worry about, and that might be great. You'd think this would simplify things, but without any decent explanation of playstyle, I found myself just randomly guessing at what the characters really did. The warrior, definitely melee; huntress and witch, definitely ranged; the monk, probably a combination of both, so let's go with that. Next, I had to select what I can only describe as a server. Pro tip, since the game won't tell you this up front, the leagues are like seasonal servers in WoW. With each new league, like the one coming on August 29th, the previous league is completely dismembered and all characters are transferred to what's known as a standard server. In my opinion, the default should be this standard and not a league server, like I was prompted to join. However, I do feel like this seasonal reset will be extremely fun if you're someone that joins at the start. It's like starting fresh with everyone else, but joining late is like joining a marathon that's 80% finished, and once it's finished, the race just disappears regardless of your progress. Either way, this should definitely be mentioned up front in some sort of pop-up that you have to accept. When I woke up on this beach, the simplicity of the tutorial left me immediately feeling like I was going to be bored. But let me tell you, the only tutorial worthy of the chaos I was about to get into is this one. Every minute of it. Seriously, there is more confusing and complex systems in this game than literally anything I've ever played. But the beach, the movement, true during my first few steps and still true almost 20 hours later, is the fact that you do feel pretty backseat in your own character. Now in World of Warcraft, you 100% feel like the driver. You are in the seat, you are your character. It adds a level of immersion that I've never found in another game. That's probably why I've dedicated almost 2 decades to it. In PoE2, you feel like this omnipotent god hovering in the skies, controlling this little character. You're a character controller, not the character itself. I'm sure this is heavily debated and up to personal opinion, but the character feel of WoW is winning out, at least for now. Initial combat does feel clean and controlled. I did notice quite quickly that my skill bar is very small, and if you're watching this and you've played WoW before, you know that skill bars are anything but simple. I paid for 500 buttons on the side of my mouse. I want to use at least 10 of them. And a quick side note, this is a gem in WoW. I bet you can tell exactly what it does. These are gems in PoE2. You see, gems go into skills, and skills can be upgraded to have more gems. Gems can be upgraded or qualitied, and skills can be upgraded with orbs. Orbs are upgrades for gear and weapons too, but not all of them. This is the skill tree, by the way. Yeah, a 2-hour guide was necessary. Outside of towns, PoE2 feels like a massive compilation of solo dungeons. One of the best parts of WoW was the ability to just hop on your mount and fly almost endlessly into the horizon, between continents, cities, planets. The biggest open world experience in gaming. Running the same path as every other person to play PoE2 in a predetermined line is somewhat discouraging. Now, I know every WoW player completes the same quests, but there's a million unique WoW players that can take a million unique approaches to the same exact quest line. Even so, these predetermined paths are jam-packed with hordes of mobs and random deadly surprises, which does keep the player extremely engaged in this path itself. I mean, PoE2 is consistently engaging, on the tips of your toes pathing that definitely keeps you moving forward. Honestly, it does almost make up for the world restrictions. Every time I went into a new zone, I did feel entirely engaged in the instance. Constant swarms of enemies, rare spawns that dropped unique items, and boss fights that did feel well thought out. I actually died 5 times to this boss, a record for me, and as a hardcore WoW veteran, that's extremely humbling. I was going to attempt to do a deathless run first try. Yeah, that didn't happen at all. You see, bosses in PoE2, while found scattered throughout these instances, don't feel like the relaxed dungeon bosses in WoW. Mechanics felt extremely necessary, a Dark Souls encounter, but in this weird, omnipotent third-person view. To my delight, these bosses even had phases. I've never been much of a solo player, maybe this is why WoW had such a pull for me, that social aspect. At first, I wasn't aware of the co-op mode in PoE2, and was extremely disappointed that clicking on another player in town doesn't even let me inspect their gear. For the love of God, just let us inspect people. Coveting thy neighbor's goods is how I get motivated to grind even harder. When it comes to the actual amount of content offered, World of Warcraft is worlds ahead of Path of Exile 2. Coming back to this script now about 30 hours into the game, I've gained the unfortunate knowledge that PoE2 only has 3 main acts and then endgame. Once you complete the 3 acts, which took me around 22 hours on my first playthrough, you're presented with acts 4, 5, and 6. However, these remaining acts are just literal repeats of the first 3 acts but on a harder difficulty. Meaning until endgame, after Act 6, you're just playing the same exact quest line on a bit harder difficulty. This is a lot unlike WoW, where my 10,000 plus hours still to this day leave me feeling like I have an endless amount of quests to do that I've never even heard of. With such a constrained story and a lack of an open world, mixed with minimal social interaction, I am left questioning how many hours I will truly dedicate to PoE2. Overall, it gets a 7.5 out of 10 from me, and if this video gets 100 likes, I'll dump 100 hours into the new update coming in about a day.